check my channel and see if this thing is actually going out on the channel. Okay, it's not. Let me go in the studio. I probably have to go live in studio. Kind of forgot to put the studio on. Yeah, there it is. No, we actually are. No, we're actually live. I don't know why I didn't see it on the page. Okay, all right, we're here. Let me put this out on blast. How's it going, everybody? Zerilath Eternal has joined forces with Apokalupsishystoria as people in the Greyhorn Pagans tribe actually stop smoking enough weed to actually call people that want to be his friends. Anyway, man, how you doing?
Doing just fine. Speaking of hitting some ganja, yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah, I'm glad that because there's multiple ways that we've kind of linked up, not just because of Stein and the Greenhorn Pagans, but yeah, you just mentioned Raven Wolfgar as well, right? Because I only found his content because yeah, I do a lot of D&D stuff as well, and
Right,
so that's how I
exactly.
found him. So yeah, it's like interesting convergence of a lot of different things,
Yeah,
So
yeah. Because like I recommend people check that out because I really talked to Raven. I was just very excited because here's a guy who saw the history of White Wolf Publishing's career and product of vampire, werewolf, mage, the whole world of darkness as such a near match overlay for the reality that we're in. Right? It's just like Jeffrey Epstein is some sort of fucking Sabbat motherfucker if you know the Sabbat, right? He's got fucking vicissitude. He's doing fucking fleshcraft in biolabs with biotech. Or he could be one of the dark mages doing necromancy and not necessarily a vampire. But actually that is all vampire in our reality, just different things because techno vampirism, why not? Like, who saw Vampire Hunter D, the anime,
dude,
right?
I've been looking up that hard recently. I've never watched it, but I've been watching like clips on it. I guess yeah, just now that you mentioned it, yeah, dude, this is like the one anime I'm like I gotta watch this like really soon. So it's very poignant you bring it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I also recommend Helsing, especially the reboot of Helsing, where they get like straight into Nazi vampire shit. Now, of course, the subtext there is that they also don't know the Jewish thing going on with the Nazis, which, you know, we're not going to talk about that today, but I'm just bringing that up because that's just one of the things I was excited to talk to Raven about. I've got the same excitement down with me. You definitely know about the Box Saga and root language of the Box Saga, right?
Not the specific root language of the box saga. I'm familiar with what it's about. I've never read it proper, but I know the whole gist
Yes.
about it, and I
Yeah.
know what it purports
Yeah.
to say in a basic sense.
Gotcha.
And I also know how people, the mainstream poo-poos it and yada yada yada, right? So it's like, oh, that means
Yes.
there's probably something to it, when they do
Yeah.
that.
If you know Old English, Finnish, and Swedish, you can basically figure out the root language from knowing those three.
Kind of triangulate it.
Yeah, you kind of got to triangulate it because there was a delineation from there were two languages of the Hyperboreans, and then when the Hyperboreans had their fracture, English was created out of the Finnish language, which was the Vanir language in the Box Saga,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Right. So English is derivative of a Proto-Finnic language, which has a deep connection to Udma.
Very interesting. Yeah, shout out to my my Finnish man Johan, we played D&D online, and I know he's doing his own
Nice.
design for stuff out there. So I don't know if he'll ever see this, but yeah, he
Yeah.
turned me on to a lot of this Finnish mythology stuff too, and I was like, yo, this is fascinating. You know, the Kalevala and all that stuff.
If you're gonna do a D&D kind of thing, my recommendation is tap the resource from Pathfinder, the world map for the inner sea guide map.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about, actually.
When I saw that map, I was already kind of getting into all this stuff, right? So I'm looking around and my intuition is popping off. There's a world wound over here. Oh, that's America. Oh, that's the British Empire. Oh, those are the Jews. Okay. It's just like it's all in there. It's cramming the mythology into a fucking cohesive reproduction of our world with room for massive expansion. I fell in love with what Pathfinder had made to play in. And I kind of have psychic experience with the game. I created an Andorran bard character who was a politician, and we were doing an epic level game, so I had 20 levels to play with, and I made him this paladin bard thing. Not a paladin, kind of a paladin,
It's
but
interesting.
like
Those are both, you know,
I made him
charisma
this.
based, you know, but yeah, it's
He's
kind of
kind of a
cool.
little bit of like a Captain America, Nick Fury, Benjamin Franklin kind of rolled into one, if you will, right? Like he's like the shadow guard of Andorra, and the campaign spawns out of my interests to my country. He was a half dragon, but he wasn't born a half dragon. He went through ritual to become a half dragon. And he uses illusions so people don't know he became a half dragon. Now, the way I played him, you know, as that kind of character, all of that then mirrored by the mystery of the universe was the arc. I said like Donald Trump's doing my fucking character. He's carving that in his imagination and using that as his fucking straw man of look at this super dude, right? You know, Kanye West says he's got the dragon energy, right? Draconian bloodline shit. Everybody gets that.
I don't know if you watch my Draconian stream or not, or some of that stuff, and maybe this is already out there, right?
I
But yeah,
watched a bunch of it.
I just finally got around to understanding that some of this stuff anyway, right? And
Yeah.
specifically, yeah, because I know that there was, you know, I talked about the fallen angels, and maybe if some of them were seraphim, and the word seraphim, you know, biblical angel, the shining, burning, the burning winged ones, right? But the word seraphim contains the word seraph, which is Hebrew for one of the two words for serpent. And so it's like, burning, flying serpent sounds like a dragon to me, right? And so
Okay.
if serpents were also some of the watchers essentially that came down and mated, wouldn't you get draconian bloodlines? Wouldn't you get reptilian people?
Right, exactly. This gets into a big thing that I have to iron out. It's a major part of understanding in my studies in Temple of the White Dragon. Is that there's a before Anunnaki and an after Anunnaki where everything that came out of the Sumerian region got massively corrupted, right? And you know stuff is they the intent was to wipe it off the face of the earth, and it'll emerge in whatever miraculous way it'll emerge, right? Because at the end of the day they basically displaced all these people, turned them into Babylonians. Then something about the mythology of an Israel Hebrew thing, an Abraham thing popped up, and a whole fucking bloodline, like all these people say like, oh, I think that's me, I think that's me, right? And this kind of thing happens, right? Because to me it's much more obvious if you strip away all of the nonsense of Jehovah's grandstanding about. You can look at the war with Canaan as no different than either Odin or Thor fighting Jotun, because the Canaanites were giants.
Yeah, that's definitely how they're described, right?
Right?
And because yeah, I've
But
been
you
on
know,
this
because
looking
like
at
when
all
I'm a
the
kid, they don't fucking tell you that the Canaanites in general were like mythical giants. They don't tell you that. So that's why I'm sitting there with a certain perception of what the fuck's going on in the Old Testament, because I'm looking at the instructions to slaughter other human beings because they were born of an evil bloodline. I'm like, that's fucked up. They're not doing anything wrong, and you just fucking wipe them out because you made them a blah 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 blah. Goes into that whole thing. Now it's completely different when you've got like those are not men anymore. They are vessels for demon seeds incarnate, and they are monstrous and literally giants. That's a different fucking story now. Now you're looking at a whole different thing, right? And so, Israel is this kingdom of zealots fighting giants everywhere. Where is Canaan's seed? Wipe out the seed of Canaan, and that's their zealotry, right? They're making you look for that giant and making it your shaitan, your adversary.
yeah, your other.
Right, right, and I
I
think that I think there's a correlation to Jotun and
oh
Jin
yeah.
and Shatan,
Oh man,
right?
that's
Like
I like that. Wow, that's
not
crazy.
that it's all in a singular, right? Because part of the teachings I understand is that there's an incursion where we're out of alignment, and that there's two underworlds and two overworlds, a false hell and a false heaven, if you will. And until we're in alignment, we're always going to get stirred into the sympathetic frequency, keeping us in the disharmony of the world, which manifests in our seasonal disruption of the life cycle, uh, uh, which um, um, which creates our finite life, right? Because we're all on a spin of a phi ratio, and we're off of the 369, right? So anyway, we're talking
Mm.
about language, but that was I needed to clear my throat.
No,
Sorry.
this is a perfect segue from
Yeah.
that thought because you're talking about Canaanites, you're talking about corruption of language, okay? Because like everyone's freaking out about the Epstein stuff, talking about oh the Baal this and Baal that and Moloch this. Well, I recently found out that the word Moloch, right, which is in the Hebrew Bible, they'll say that it's essentially the process by the offering to Baal itself, right? But it's essentially MLK, right? Which is kind of strange, right? Because if we look at MLK in Semitic languages, it pretty much means king, which is all the more ironic, redundant that we actually have a famous figure named MLK, and his name is literally king. Like what the heck? But
But
anyway,
The Malak is also the messenger. It's also the angel of the Lord is called a Malak. The
and
MLK.
so in Phoenician Canaanite Semitic, it's king, right? So the king of the god of Tyr, right? The famous Phoenician port city is actually Melkart. Okay, so literally king of the city, Melkart. The name Kart itself is actually the root word for the name of Carthage, which is another famous Canaanite Phoenician city. Literally, people in Carthage called themselves Cana. They're literally Canaanites. Okay, um, and so what the Hebrew Bible does is essentially swap the vowels in MLK from Melech or to being king to being Moloch to mean essentially inferno or whatever, right? The same thing happens with another Semitic word. In I think in Hebrew it's Beelzebub, right, which is one of the demonic names, but it would have been Baalzebub or Baalzahum or something else. Essentially, it's very close, but it's another pun switch, which would have been Lord of Princes, and so instead of Lord of the Flies, and so the whole thing is essentially inverting lots of this, potentially, Canaanite Semitic words into, making them instead of royal and divine to being subverted into nasty and corrupted,
Right.
essentially, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it because basically when the fallen ones were summoned into our world, right? Like they didn't invade. I mean, it was an invasion, but the invasion was summoned into our world. Like dark sorcerers that betrayed mankind brought these guys here, and they gave those sorcerers the ability of government, and then government was created. Did you
Bro, do you know
read it
the
before then? The human psyche operated in an obvious understanding of natural law, and for the most part, the ideas of sin came from just an ignorance of a situation, and a mistake was made. Sometimes the mistake had terrible consequences, so on and so forth. Because a lot of what I see in the Bible, if you take away the personhood of Jehovah and you try to figure out what this may have been as a pagan, if it's a Saturnian deity, if that is still the same, then you're talking about a god of karma. And now he's not cruel, he's fair as fuck, right? And you have to
yeah,
see
exactly.
that mankind went this bad, right? We just watched mankind, our own brethren in this nation, go pretty fucking bad. Some people don't want to admit the black hole of the psyche that 2020 and 2021 was. They don't want to admit that those consequences are why we're living in in the world this way. Protesting having a better life is we're protesting our own good fortune. It's fucking sickening.
Yeah, all those words, right? Karma, fortune. A lot of these are actually tied to real deities at one point in the classical age, right? Fortuna, right? Fortes fortuna juvat, right? Literally, fortune favors the bold. And just like you said, karma, right? Which is like, just that's, or at least that's whatever word you just mentioned. That was the original meaning, was like a karmic, balancing of things, right? It's not like a, gotcha sort of thing. And the exactly thing, that we're going to talk about is essentially the same thing will happen with weird, and also what I essentially found out with destiny as well.
Right when I'm taking a sip, you stop talking.
My bad. I wasn't even looking at the screen. My bad. Yeah.
Indeed,
I wasn't even looking at the screen. My bad. Yeah.
indeed.
I need
So,
someone. I needed the studio guy. But hey, keep talking for a second.
all right. So let's talk about the roots of the English language that you've discovered so far. If I have a good enough interview, I'm thinking of some major players I'd want to invite on this channel, but I'm probably too weird for them anyway, and they'll say no. They don't like my nipples, I'm sure of it.
Hey man, yeah, it's like it is what it is, right? It's good conversations or good conversations or not, but so you're already like, you're like, hey, we're already in a little space, right? We're already like talking to each other via magic crystals in the internet, right? Like, yeah, who cares, right?
Right. There's plenty of technomancy going on. Let's get woo about it.
So, yeah, essentially how I even stumbled upon a lot of this stuff is because I wanted to be a novelist. I really wanted to write books, and I was like, oh, I feel like I gotta up. And I was already in conspiracy theory, but I was like, oh, I feel like I gotta like upgrade my reading. So I was like, oh, I'll crack open some Shakespeare. That's what all the famous authors do, right? They could just like quote Shakespeare off the dome. So this is like what 2020 or something like that, around this time period, maybe even 2019. But yeah, so I crack it open and I get stuck on Macbeth, like the opening thing about the witches in the opening scene, fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and filthy air. Talking about meeting with Macbeth upon the heath. Very, interesting terms as far as like, the connotation of the word heath, right? That's where we get our word heathen from, and they're already connotating and connecting the scene of, for us, for people that speak English, fair is foul and foul is fair, double toil and trouble, cauldron burn and fire bubble, right? Eye of Newton, blah blah blah. Like that is our understanding of witches. That is our understanding. That is our meme for interplaying with this archetype, right? We don't have any of this stuff without Shakespeare, almost in a sense, right? So talking about the power of language and the power of memes, it's almost like Shakespeare is like in your brain. He is like already. He is controlling, or he is getting to puppet certain, archetypes for us and present them for us that we can all essentially, engage with and touch at the same time, right? To be or not to be, you can already finish the line because you speak English, and you can't speak English unless you've probably touched some Shakespeare, or Shakespeare's touched English, and that's in ways that you can't even begin to comprehend, essentially, right? So, once again, see, I'm already like going off the rails here, but Yeah, getting stuck on like what is the agency of the witches? Like what is going on? Why would they do this? Like what's going with these characters? And and then it kind of
Yeah.
spiraled out from there.
And it's the punditry. We're so used to the punditry and weird, and we were talking about we had a conversation about the EI versus the Y, and I said, well, you could just kind of fuse those together per se, because the Y signifying the ether of it all, but but also
And
when
the Yera too, right? That's also the Y. It's like you got rid of the Y sound in a sense, the Ya part, the new year, right? The Yera, another
right,
spiral
right,
symbol.
right. It's the way you're feeling the fit of the matter, right? Because Yera, like I usually boil it down to cooperation over time, but
Mm.
it's also just about how things fit together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they do have a
So
little
you,
interlocking sort of piece
you're
looking kind of thing,
you're
right?
wearing a new suit that fits different. It doesn't fit right or wrong, but it fits different. So the base primordial word that comes to mind is that feels weird, right? Just I feel weird in it, right? And then a day later, it's just like I'm used to it now, right? You've integrated the weird, right?
You figured out the texture, the weaving pattern, right? It's like the Norns like weaving it, and you've kind of like got into the groove or to the
Yes,
rhythm.
yes. The first couple times I was on a real construction job site, finally, I felt weird, right? But once I picked up the rhythm of everything around me, I was in my flow state, and everything's smooth, right? And I'm impressing people with the way I take care of the job. I'm one of those guys that notices everything, and so everybody's like, oh, thanks, Steve. I would have forgot." Like, I'm consistently that guy that like always notices some little fucking detail that somebody forgot, right? I like I've honed a good sense of things with a relationship with Heimdall. Heimdall is what's going on everywhere, right? This is why he has to fight Loki to the bitter end in Ragnarok, because he's the only guy that can corner him in the shadows. But his limitation is that he doesn't know when Naglfar will breach Asgard. He can't see that. That's a
It's like his
limit.
Achilles heel.
It's his Achilles, because everybody's got a little blind spot, most of which was a blind spot planted by Loki himself.
Yeah, it's
And
like the
if
little
you
bit of the
yes,
little all the
yeah,
heels are woven into the fabric
yes.
somehow. It's
And
interesting.
if you don't graduate the level of the folklore lessons for us in personal development that these stories are about, you won't understand the greater story happening in the cosmos of the war between the gods and the anti-gods, and you will find sympathy for the anti-gods where it is completely misplaced and misunderstood, because you're not tapping into the paradise time and understanding the difference between what it is to not live, at the very least, an Aeonian life.
Yeah, yeah, I dig a lot of that stuff. That's super interesting. Um, you know, I don't know how. I don't know how much we want to go continue down the weird stuff, but yeah, I like a lot of the stuff that you just brought up. Yeah, this idea of the gods versus the anti-gods, and yeah, that does seem to be sort of like the everlasting thing itself and rehabilitation in the imagery. And I feel like in the modern media, and I was making this sort of commentary on that. Seems like the Loki cult is like super strong. You got all these like neo pagans that are super into that, and, because of his sort of outcastness and that sort of stuff. And
Right, right.
he's got way more of the Marvel presence now than Thor does. Odin's been dead forever. He had zero screen time. Told me that I guess Thor's supposed to become All Father at some point, so
Yes.
maybe they're setting that up or whatever. But it's just more of like, Loki's apparently in the recent season, he's like the one like binding the Yggdrasil and fixing Yggdrasil, and like, oh, he's the one who's saving everything, right? He's the one who's putting it all back
Right,
together.
right, right.
Um, And so it's just like, wait a second, like that's a very Loki thing to do. Like, oh, I can fix it all. Like, oh, whoops, like blah 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 blah. So it's like, oh, wait, is this like a metaphysical like thing happening right now? And so when I make my video, I actually I use that scene, but I cut it out so you actually never see Loki. Sorry, Tom Hiddleston, like you're carrying the crap out of that character. Like that, kudos. But to maintain like heathen integrity, right? I was like, oh no, I didn't show
exactly.
Loki. Like, no offense, dog. Like, I just showed the Yggdrasil. That's all I showed. I didn't show him doing it.
Hey, listen. I made a big me and Slick Dissident made a huge love letter to the whole effing Loki thing, in a big breakdown series, or I can't remember if we did it in one or two. I think we did it in one episode. We did the whole 2-season arc with all the other relevant context from the MCU, bringing in my cosmological understandings at that time, at that level that I was at the time of making that, and just talking about how everything you're getting in the story here is great, but know this, think of it as young Odin on his march to hang by Yggdrasil, is what it boils, right? But because Loki on a level is also the fucking Jews. Sorry. sorry, not sorry. He's also the Jews. Because of the various levels, because that's the history level. There's the cosmological level, which is a big deal.
He's always associated with the Kanos rune, right? It's like it's the
the
nose.
historical level. There's the lesson. There's the human lesson level. Right? Those are three different levels of understanding it here, right? And so you got to understand which level is being referred to, right? Because I can have a conversation and talk about be a dishonorable character, and the lessons were not to elevate the dishonorable, right? So regardless of all these things, he's dishonorable. Regardless of all these wonderful things like giving us Sleipnir that he did, it's like that was all that gift was part of a trust ruse, because he knew he couldn't give the All Father that kind of a problem, right? Like, so it was a no strings attached super horse. You're right. That's like the only time he ever gave something that had no ill in it.
I thought he was kind of a little responsible for getting in one of the myths. Maybe this is the Sturluson version, but I thought he's the one who got he got Gungnir and Mjolnir and
Well, he got
the hair back to Sif, right?
Well, he sabotaged Mjolnir.
But I thought he was also responsible for getting the dwarves to make all the presents for the gods, and it was Gungnir, the spear, and Mjolnir, and Sif's hair.
Loki was helping out so he could plant the seeds of destruction in the process. Because when he helped the forging of Mjolnir, it is because the hammer was made shortened that Jormungandr could give his fatal blow. Because Thor is forced to fight you up close and purse monstrosity and crushes you to death with it as quickly as fucking possible without holding back one iota of the Hamramer.
I thought part of the part was like, wasn't it supposed to be like a disgrace that he got like a short handle and he was like, oh, no problem for me, or he was like, it was like easy to carry or something like that. But I thought it was like one of the myths. I thought, yeah, the dwarves they were doing the forge, and Loki bites one in the neck, and so it makes him stop for just a second, and that's what makes the hammer not perfect, essentially, is because they didn't keep it for just a half second.
Brady, give me 1 second. I'm not sure if we're still live. No data. The stream will end shortly.
Oh.
The live got. I was having
looks like we're still on YouTube.
Something was going wrong with this thing where it was giving me an issue. I don't want. Do I have to fucking restart this conversation? Is this gonna have to be like two things thread together? I'm trying to figure out how I handle this. Settings, all settings. I don't know why it's giving me a problem today, but it's saying that I'm streaming out on two things, and that's why it cut off. Hold on a second. Are we back? Where are we?
It looks like we're
Wait,
still
no,
good.
we're still live.
Yeah, I think we've been live because I'm watching it on YouTube too. It looks like we're good.
Yeah, I'm hearing you live. Okay, we're good. There was a glitch on my end, and I've got the studio in front of me, so. All right, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cut you off like
No, it's
that.
all good.
Rewind a hair and jump back on what you said.
I honestly don't even remember what I was saying exactly.
Shit. All right. Yeah. We were
Oh, I was just talking about the reason that the handle was short because in one of the
yes.
myths I remember the dwarves are trying to keep the forge hot and Loki has to sabotage the competition so he like bites one in the neck and he like stops for a second or something to keep the
That's right.
forge hot and that's what makes like Mjolnir just slightly like imperfect was that shortened handle from that one like little mosquito bite or something.
Yes. Yeah. That's that's effectively right. Yeah, that's effectively right. And a mosquito bite like there's like that's a um um they say that Beelzebub is involved with a politician if you ever catch them in a professional headshot and they catch a fly on their face. I saw one recently with Trump.
Very interesting.
No, no, John McCain at least once that happened.
Only once.
Yeah, because these are happening like at inside events. Like they may be
Mm,
large venues, but they're inside events, and the odds of there just being a fly just chilling like that, and it goes for the face of the dude on the podium.
yeah.
Just like those. It's you have to pull together context to know it as a synchronicity, right? Because if a fly lands on his face, he's just at a birthday party. I mean, maybe it just means he eats children. It doesn't necessarily mean anything else. Anyway, let's get back on board here.
I do have a bunch of tabs and information pulled up so I can rifle through and kind of pitch what I've found in regards to the weird and why it's been corrupted or depowered is my argument.
Yeah, okay, let's go for it. Do you have permission to share? I'll give it to you if you don't.
Yeah. All right, let me see. I'm clicking to. All right, hold on. Let me see if it'll. Okay, let me share the screen. I'll first go to this basic, Webster Online Dictionary. For in a very colloquial sense, very means like something strange or unconventional, and maybe if you use it a little more, you could also mean it to be ominous, maybe, or a little unsettling or something along those lines, right? And so, the idea is, let me get the right one here. Yeah. So, oh, this is the wrong one. So that was the other one. Okay, let me share this one instead. So, the word weird, obviously, like I said at the very beginning, right? I got hooked on the scene of the witches, these opening things where they're talking about meeting Macbeth upon the heath, fair is foul and foul is fair. And I got very hooked on these characters are interesting. Like, and what's their agency? Like, why are they even doing this? What are they getting out of this? So I just kept digging and kept digging and kept digging. If you go on Stein Fox's YouTube channel, I do a bunch of, talking about how I stumbled a lot of this stuff. It's my personal synchronicity story, essentially. But to go back to this, yeah, I kept looking into this stuff. And I also, at this kind of coincidentally, I actually have a magic card that's relevant to this story, but got into Odin, got into heathenry, all at the same cascading time in a very odd sense. And so I kept, I've made the pitch before that the name Shakespeare is also an Odinic name, right? Odin was called Gungnir Shaker, Gungnir being the name of his spear, and even Gungnir, its name itself means to sway or to shake.
Yes.
So he's like a swaying and shaking spear, literally itself, right? And he's also associated with poetry. He's also associated with language and that sort of stuff as well. Very much like Shakespeare is Shakespeare, kind of in our senses too, right? He's a sort of like language deity. He's a language god, almost to us, right? So I just say like, whoa, yeah, there's a lot of Odinic properties to this name as well. People in the Shakespeare authorship also point to Athena as another spear shaker associated with the crafts. I've actually shown that I think Hamlet is like a perfect mashing of the Orestia story that involves Athena, the spear shaker, mashing of the Orestia story of that involves Athena, the spear shaker, same setup as Hamlet. Son has to avenge his father and his dad, against his mom and his uncle, essentially, right? It's the same setup mixed with Amleth, right? The Saxo Grammaticus version, right? And you already made it know this, but so Hamlet, based on the story of Amleth, it's it's also set in Denmark. Shakespeare's is set in Denmark, much like the story of Amleth is, but it's set like in contemporary times, right? Rather than the sort of medieval times or whatever, right? Or pre-medieval. So, but the name Amleth itself, even it has the first root is Amma, which means to hex or annoy or molest someone, and then the last part is Oder, which means fierceness or madness, which is the first part of Odin's name, Odin, like Oder and Odin. So Amleth's name, right? But then I've also tracked it to this weird sister phenomenon.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was as well, right? Yeah, I really need to go. I actually have to go re-up on the Amleth saga and Hamlet, right? I've had so many things I've had to make do that were important to me with my study and my work, that I got all lit up on the Northmen, and I'm just like, well, the Northman is just is just like it's from something else, and which became Hamlet. So it's Hamlet, but it's this, right? To be or not to be, and that's the dude with his dad and his cuz. It's like, oh, it's all in there. It's all fucking in there.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So yeah. So whatever was going on with Shakespeare, right? I almost want to say, because English became more along the lines of the English that we speak today because of Shakespeare, right? Which it would seem that it loses a lot of a certain manner of its magic. An interesting thing that that is up with Shakespeare as we know it is that we're always hearing it from High English, right? So it's if you actually were to perform the manner in the cadences of Shakespearean prose in something along the lines of a Cockney accent, a lower class accent, perhaps one could say a pagan, because it's folk persons accent here, and they're doing it in Appalachia accents.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. Yeah, exactly. I've even heard that old Southern, accents in the United States sound closer to that accent.
It makes more fucking sense. So people, and so I think that there's a corollary line between the people whom Shakespeare was originally for, and then Shakespeare got co-opted and put into the higher English language, turned it into the snootiest sounding language possible.
Or was that the point the whole time? Not a lot of this stuff is in print. Why does Shakespeare get such a massive focus? Why does it get pedestaled so hard? There are so many writers, there are so many plays during this time. Dude, and you'll find that all the deep cut authors, famous Americans, they're reading these deep cut other authors that are adjacent and contemporary to Shakespeare, and there's a whole crazy treasure trove of other plays and other tropes and other stuff going on with all this stuff.
I've been listening to a little bit of you and Nash talking about that stuff, and
or I'm Nash.
I'm sorry, and Chance.
Yeah, Chance.
There's definitely an "and" in there somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, you and Chance about that. So I'd be very excited to meet him in the future and really get into a certain dig on some bloodline oriented stuff in the future. Because it sounds like he knows a thing or two, because he was looking at the corollaries of the people that were in control of basically the whole British theater time during the Shakespearean period, during the world stage period.
Yeah, who's in the printing, who's in the writing, who's in the stage directions, who's selling tickets, blah blah blah.
I would say that there was perhaps an egregore of Odin that was kind of a spirit of the Shakespeare brand, if you will.
No, abs that they have this person named, but in all the prints it's William Shake. Sometimes it's just WS, but anyway, when we do see it, it's Shake hyphen Spear, and so it's but that's a Germanic name, and I've also made the connection that Wilhelm is like maybe another loose term, Vil, literally, and helm itself is like helmet, so it's almost like another metaphor for the brain in a sense, the mind.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. There's and there's a correlation to Heimdall there too, because I had heard Heimdall mentioned in context to something in the Box Saga, talking about the cosmology and talking about the sky in a similar kind of context to in the Norse mythos, with the sky being like Ymir's skull, particularly.
Yeah.
But the Box Saga kind of fills it in that like kind of like that upper area is Heimdall's domain, because the Rainbow Bridge of Asgard, the walls of Asgard are there, and that's his viewpoint. And he's and in the Box Saga, it's called an arch, right? So he's on the arch. This would make Heimdall an Archon, right? Now, that would be not an Archon, though, in the Gnostic context, just by looking at it that way. That are bad Archons because they're the anti-gods, and then their lieutenants, they have their own Archons from that universe. Right. This is like the Gnostics. They figured out the cosmology, but there's everything was far too insulated, and churches understood it, especially with the massive amount of Gentiles that by the end of the Roman Empire were really into being unofficial Jews, right? And so people started turning things into, oh, everybody wants to be Jewish. Well, here, be like Christ, and but you don't want to. Oh, you don't want to slaughter that many goats. Well, okay.
I just wonder if it's it's a slower burn process. So it's a boiling of the frogs process. You know how they kind of they kind of coerced everyone into doing certain coif shot things, maybe essentially, right? They got people to do a lot of different things,
Right.
But it's like something like that, this social pressure.
I don't even think the censorship's there anymore. I haven't gotten in trouble for saying shit hardcore ever, right? And I'm at the largest I've ever been right now at 770 subs. So.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm wondering if if it's a slow boiling. So I've found some political stuff in relation to this like theater stuff. Okay, because I've heard now people like Alan Green, not Alan Green. What's the other guy's name? Alan. He's a basic sort of Alan Watts. There we go. He's the one he's kind of been like, Shakespeare changed the he changed the Shakespeare changed the language. He's part of a propaganda, blah 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 blah. But and it's like you can kind of intimate what they mostly mean. But so now I've basically just maybe found some like real time doing of that sort of thing, and especially because weird is an Anglo-Saxon word. It's an Old English word. It's connected to this Finnish stuff that you just related to. So here I think is the exact moment that it's actually losing some of its divinity. Okay, so here we have the rendition. This is actually put on by the Folgers Shakespeare production, because in case you didn't know, Folgers, yes, the coffee company, or at least someone related to it, is the people that own a bunch of Shakespeare memorabilia, and they actually have Prime, the Shakespeare, this other James Folger, I think, who's out in California learning, doing the coffee trade business essentially, right? And so they're related to one another. So Henry Clay Folger essentially is like, they're the ones who own a lot of the folio, the artifacts and crap, and they're the ones like, I'm about to pull up the Folger Shakespeare website here. But once again, here's just a rendition of the Three Witches, It's played by men because all the women parts would have been played by men. So you can kind of really see that they're grimy and crazy and nasty and weird. And go watch the intro to the play on YouTube. It's free. It's a good rendition of it. And so, therefore, I actually have another stream. Me and Chance have an essay on Substack, and I have a stream that I did with Chance where we connect Shakespeare, the coffee company, and Folgers, obviously, because that's the connective tissue, to the Manson murders and a bunch of weird stuff that connects Polanski, because what's his next movie after the murders? It's Macbeth. And one of the people that was murdered during the LaBianca Tate murders was Abigail Folgers, and she's the heiress to the Folgers Coffee Company. And so, yeah, there's like a person involved with the ownership of Shakespeare, and the very next thing that Polanski does is a Shakespeare-like thing, too. And then I've connected the term helter-skelter not to the Beatles, but also to this Renaissance period with a person named Thomas Nash, actually.
I'm gonna have to remember this part of the conversation and send it to Rotting Jules later to ask her.
Ooh, yeah, I follow her on
how much she
Instagram as well,
knows
yeah.
about it. She probably knows about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to do a thing with her too. Yeah. Or yeah, you can bring us into a round table or something, right? But anyway, so yeah, I can connect Shakespeare to any old random thing. Apparently, that's like my superpower. I can conjure Odin through synchronicities at random times, and I can connect anything. So here is the actual Folgers Shakespeare library. You can actually go and word search in the text itself. So here I have pulled up all the mentions of the word weird. Okay. So if you actually notice here, right, there are 3 weird sisters. And the first time that the word weird is ever used in this play is on Act 1, but Scene 3, line 33. In Macbeth, it's on 333. Yeah, obviously, you can kind of tell that there's a typological trick going on here, right? To deliberately have these 3 sisters that are also doing this particular thing, right? And they're even talking about, and obviously the Odinic number is also 9. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. And this word occurs apparently, at least per their edition here, that it occurs 6 times, right? It occurs 3 times here and then 3 times later. This word weird, okay? Weird sisters, weird sisters, weird sisters, right? And in case you didn't know that the word weird is cognate to an Old Norse word, which is going to be Erd or Erder. And in case you didn't know that, Erd and Erder is literally one of the names of the Norns, the fate carvers in the Norse mythology.
Yes,
right.
It's Earth. It means Earth, and it's like a great. It's understood like a stone, and the idea is that every stone out there has once been chipped off of another stone. And so the Erd is the greater stone in which that stone had chipped off of, right? And so this, in the expression of the weird, is just about what was the cause of a thing. What was the source of a thing? Where did it come from?
Dude,
right?
yeah, you're already hitting on it. You're already hitting on it exactly. Where did it come from? And that's important.
Yes, and the past is associated
Yes.
with that archetype of time.
Yes.
But
yes.
But the past doesn't do what she is justice.
Precisely. And so here I just have the one of the mentions of Erd or Erder or Earth, her name, which essentially right there. So the 3 Norns, Earth, Verdandi, and Skuld, their names are essentially, loosely past, present, and future, right? If you want to just kind of go with the most basic definition.
Right.
And so, yeah, I know but yeah, just to get, in case. Life by Odin, the spear shaker, to give, to create the first man and woman, which apparently also, in some of the Greek myths, Athena, the other spear shaker, is also sometimes known to breathe life into some of the clay men created by Prometheus, right? So you actually have the 2 spear shakers in both myths actually able breathing life into the first man and woman. So regardless here, but so right after that moment in that stanza, then we get the description of Yggdrasil, and then it's going to talk about the Norns, okay? So then it talks about the Norns, and it also talks about Erd's well, right? And so I just have all the different translations. And, I've got Jackson Crawford, the big YouTube channel. I got some free guy named Petite. I don't know what his name. I've got the Norse one here at the top. Just so you can kind of compare, the original Norse to the other ones. And at the very bottom, I've got one from 1908, which he even glosses weird for Erder, the Well of Weird, Erder's Bruni.
I use you said 1908. I think mine is also 1908. I can't remember his name. Chris Home translation.
And I've got like the Oxford in all of my essays and all my videos because I've got multiple different translations. Go on my if you can go on my God of the Goths video because there's a word named Gotter and Grimnismal that has multiple translations and I pretty much do a deep dive on that. But yeah, so I've got some of the other ones here where Erder is mentioned here. And once again, so remember the three weird sisters, right? These things that tell Macbeth his fate. They prophesize what will happen. And when they first appear, they appear very, oh my God, like these are the fates. Like, oh my, what the heck is going on, right? Like, this is crazy, like things actually, right? And so I'm just once again relating that this word weird, the weird sisters that's used in this play apparently, is also cognate with the Old Norse Erd. And this literally one of the names of the Erd, specifically the one that has to do, like you said, with the connotation of the past, right? I think I actually have the etymology for Old Weird. So yeah, in Old English, weird actually meant further down, right? We actually noticed that, here, I could zoom in here, now that I'm sharing this one, that it's actually got this from old Proto-Indo-European, this connotation of to turn into wine, something that is like following through and like, coming into being, like you just talked about the Awas, you talked about the Yetta, right? Like both of those kind of have these like twisting motion motifs, There we got the Old Norse Erder, fate, one of the three horns.
And that was the U was.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fire wheel. Awaz is the
and the even Uruz itself, right, is even like the one of the first beings that comes out of Gununga Gap.
Yeah.
It's the female, right? It's like the primordial female, right? I guess Emir is like the primordial male, and like I guess the cow is the primordial female, right?
Yeah, Adumbla, right?
Okay. Yeah, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are the first two things that emerge, and sometimes the language makes like they are the quote ancestor, which is maybe a pseudo truth of the gods, but that's not how it goes down because Buri and Bor and Odin, like Buri, the first one, he is thawed out of the ice by Audumbla.
That's right. Yeah, from licking it.
From licking it. Yeah, because the cows, horses, and such, they like their salt licks, right? And the ice had salt in it, and things like that is making milk by licking the ice, and that's how Ymir fed himself. And then he's thawed out. Buri is there as a reminder that our past is buried. Your ancestors are buried. His name is Buri. And you bore out of the underground, right? You bore through the ground. When you bore out of your mother's womb.
I wonder if the tongue may be connection to speech or something, and like you got to ask questions, you gotta kind of inquire maybe in a sense. Give me chills. That's some good stuff right there, man. Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah, I love how you're giving like the pictographic story of the word itself with the runes itself, because I hadn't even thought of that dimension before, right? But yeah, dude, that's a whole nother like dude, that's a goosebump level right there.
If I may do a share real quick, I want to show you the Chris Home translation, because that is the best one that I have seen. So here's Voluspa. The English is done in kind of like the old English style with the thys and stuff in certain places. I like the way that it's written in English, and it works pretty hard to be faithful. And here it all is in front of you in the Old Norse as found in Saxa Grammaticus, right? Or if I got the name of that right off the top of my head, but the source in which these were
for the Voluspa, that would be like the Codex Redicus or some of that other stuff, I think, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Redicus, I forget it.
So, so if we talk about what was the verse that you were going over in Voluspa?
It's gonna be closer to it's like straight up in the middle of the Voluspa. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but yeah, keep going down all the names. Keep going.
Going through all the dwarves right here.
It's like straight up like right in the middle. There's actually a really cool performance of a lady who does it like live, as it's if like she's the Voluspa talking, and there's
Nice.
like a dude kind of doing music mixing in the background. And it's like a performance
Yeah.
of the Voluspa.
Up for
Right
well,
there, yeah, because it says, from the host came three mighty and powerful Aesir to coast. There they found an ashen elm of little might and lacking orlog, lacking fate. Orlog, literally from like
right.
logic, literally
Yeah.
order itself, right? They lacked a destiny, and
Yeah.
so yeah, they give them life. They gave them the opportunity for life, but it's still the Norns down in the next one that are the ones.
Original Adam and Eve, Askar and Emble, the ash and the elm, but it's their names. It's the first man, the first woman,
Yep.
right? And I so love our creation story so much better
Yeah,
than
dude.
the Adam and Eve story. The gods do nothing horrible to us at all. You can look up and down this bitch. There's not 1 second where the gods, in the cosmological looking at things, that the gods do anything, horrible to people, and somebody's got something to really.
No, it's like he's usually divine. He's delivering some justice to people that honestly always deserve it
Right.
and think that they're above it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. There's something that gets lost in the sauce because of the quote sea people / Phoenician influence on
Yes.
Greco-Roman
Yes.
mythology
Yes.
in that personification, humanization, where it comes off and it becomes this thing of government like the Anunnaki had brought.
Yes. Yes. The commercialization, the capitalization of everything. The commodization of everything.
Yeah, 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 precisely. And I'm not a fucking communist, and I don't think I can call myself a capitalist, but I don't want to take your wealth away.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, it's just
That's all
like
I know. It's wrong to take your wealth away. That's all I fucking know.
exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. It's just like, yo, dude.
You
Like,
know,
it's like, yo, dude. Like, we
just
should be.
stop exploiting my opportunities to have some fucking fun here. But you're fucking probably evil, and you're forcing me to get angry. Anyway.
If you look at number 19, do you know anything? Because I did a stream about this. I don't want to tangent too hard here because I still have
No,
some
no,
other
no,
stuff to
no.
get
This
into.
is
But
good.
that wet with white dews. Do you know anything about that line? And the Snorri Sturluson, he actually says, from this white dew, bumblebees pop out of it.
Okay. Wet with white dew and bumblebees pop out of it. Okay.
I found the connection, dude.
They are associated with gold because they are associated with honey. Thus, they are also associated with any of the sacred meads that are all derivative of honey. All of these things have their association with sustenances like the soma for the gods.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
So Yggdrasil, in the environment that Yggdrasil thrives, is an environment in which there is gold for the soul.
So check this out. Oh man, I need to find that other one too. So here, I'll share my screen real quick because yeah, I don't not to get away from Erd, but this is part of dude. We're talking about Yggdrasil. You're talking about stuff, right? My last name is Nash, so anything about ash trees and Yggdrasil, like that's all I hone in. That's like all I care about. Because like I said, I got in through the synchronicity, right? I was like, I want to be a writer. I'll go read some Shakespeare. Oh, let's go question some Shakespeare stuff. I already questioned it, so I was down. So I was like, oh, let's go look into it. And I found that there's a writer whose name is Thomas Nash, and that's like my middle and last name. My name is Brady Thomas Nash. I was like, holy crap! Like, yeah, let's do this.
Teeth Gnasher is the translation of one of the names of Thor's goats.
Ooh, I did
Yes.
that. All right, let me. Which button do I press? Here we go. All right. Let me. So the white clay. Check this out.
Okay.
Does that look like?
That looks like it's more of a dry foam.
It's so what it is. This is a Fraxinus ornis. It is an ash tree. Okay.
Okay.
This happens in the Northern European and in the Mediterranean. That the ash trees during the summer and other times which also reflects Old English. So in Old English, the word for spear is both ash tree and spear because spears are always known for being the perfect branches for making spears essentially, right? And
Yeah.
Odin, what is he? He hangs himself on the ash tree. The Ansu's rune is always associated with Odin and the word God and the ancestors and the ash tree and blah 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 blah. So
Right, right.
in Greek,
And also he spears himself on the tree.
right? Exactly. Yeah, he spears himself. And so in Greek, Melia is ash tree, but Meli, just if you take off the A, Meli is honey or anything sweet. That is what the word in Greek, right? So if I say mellifluous, right, that's like honey sweet or honey flowing or honey talking, right? And so in the myth, in Zeus, when he is hiding away from Kronos, right? He is being, if you read the Hesiod myth, he is being attended to by the Melii, M-E-L-E. If you just add an E or to the end or an I, basically, or whatever, to the end of the word Melia, they're often called either the ash tree nymphs or the honey nymphs. And but prior to this, I was like, what does ash tree and honey have to do with anything? Like I didn't get it, because they're gloss either one. They're either honey nymphs or bee nymphs or and
Yeah.
their father's name, so it's Adastrea. She is the one who is nursing Zeus the whole time. They feed him honey sap. They feed him ash tree sap, which is a actual laxative. It's a very sweet. It's basically like a confectionery. It turns into like a sugar, but it's also got natural laxative properties. It's where you derive mannitol from. I've got a newborn. I've had 4 kids, and so if you know anything about newborns, their stomachs are very like they need jump starting when they're young, and all these things I kept reading. It's like midwives would give little babies, newborn babies, sap of the ash tree because it's like a very low glycemic, low caloric, very very easy on the stomach to kind of help it process and kind of get some of that microbiome going essentially or whatever. And that's what essentially why baby Zeus is being fed ash tree sap, right? And so this white clay. This is exactly what they're talking about, right? That's why the bees pop out of it. That's why the word in Greek is associated with bees and all this stuff, right? Melicius is
Ash tree and Yggdrasil works as a yew tree, and I think it depends, especially because this mythology is getting like Norse mythology by itself is an attempt at a monomyth, which then got thrown into a greater monomyth by Tolkien, right? So back in the day, it was more like in the Northmen. You weren't just like, you didn't just get along because one guy was into Cult of Freyr and the other was into Cult of Odin. And these two could have reasons to go after each other, right? And in the movie, they explain that the Cult of Freyr had very different values about women than the Cult of Odin did, right? And this was the fury of Fjolnir in the movie that inspired him to betray his half brother, right? Possibly justified, but you don't know because you only get to see things through Amleth's eyes. You don't see precisely what is the background grievances of who was that good, like was the kingdom that good or not that good or whatever. You have to kind of you kind of figure that out. Your empathy over the whole situation that you are presented is like kind of the only thing that you're running with. Before the when you start getting into the third act, when he finds out that his mom's a crazy fucking bitch.
heed their words, but do not seek their or whatever the meme is, right? It's like heed their words, but do not seek it or whatever it says.
Yeah. I really fucking loved that scene because fucking responses to that I've ever seen in my life, and I've been in that situation. Not that situation, dear God, but I've been in one of those situations where
Someone
your
else's
words are
mom, not my
poisoned.
mom, but
I wish was the words inscribed on my heart to yell back at that person.
yeah.
Right? It's just like I don't even have to explain the horrible manner in which you are gaslighting me right now. I don't even have to fucking explain it because I'm beyond caring, right? So that, so that moment I understood rock star solid.
Yeah, man, The Northman, what a movie.
Yeah.
And so I just have this little like short here that I found, and so yeah, this is a dude who's
I can't wait till he
harvesting.
does werewolf. Oh, I
Yeah,
can't wait till he does
amen.
werewolf.
Or hail. And so I just have here this guy harvesting the ash mana from an ash tree here, and actually, if you notice, he even just coincidentally or not, just happens to have it in the same pattern as an Ansu's rune, which is the ash tree rune too.
Right.
Just fun little coincidence there. I don't know if it's purposeful or if it maybe has something to do with its actual harvesting, right? Because if you looked at it here, this stuff is like pouring down. Look at this stuff. It's
Right,
like
right.
gushing out of it.
Yeah. I mean, you could divulge a couple of different runes from that too, because if you see the way the cut design is going this place, you got a couple of things because you got Hagalas going on, you got Urus going on in there. It's not just Ansus, it's also Fehu because there's two sides to this. There's the line
Yeah,
on the left, the line on the right, and so on the right, it's a mirrored Fehu rune.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you get a couple of those things in there, right? Because these are archaic forms, right? So he's cutting in those runic patterns because that's the energy that is very efficient for that sap to be harvested.
My copy of Macbeth pulled up from the original one because this is the bombshell. I'll lay it on
Yeah,
whenever you're
yeah.
ready.
Because
Yeah, if you
I
want to talk
just
about
want to
folders.
I want to show you real quick. This this is the Folger's crest. I remember talking about Templars. That's closed helmet,
Mm,
like my family crest, closed helmet. That's Templar blood. They've got the lion on the crown with the toroidal crown circle around on the head here. Um, there's a lot that can be extracted from the design along sides. Red and white is their patterning. There's their shield. That's the Folger family and their Templars. But
interesting.
that's what the shield means because I am because and I got that information from guys studying that showed me how to look that up and to say that yeah that's what that means when you've got that in your family thing, right? So that's one of the things I'm
Very
looking
relevant.
into for myself. I have an in-law relationship to Che Guevara. Che Guevara is a Lynch in actuality, and the Lynches are from Ireland, and he is of
Yeah.
Irish Templar descent. And one of the
Dude, I
women,
know another Lynch
one
actually.
of the
He's a
women,
very big YouTuber.
yeah, one of the women in the Purdy family married a Lynch related to Che Guevara, to one of Che Guevara's ancestors.
Wow, that's
So,
crazy. I did not
so
know that.
that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually do. I know another Lynch. He's a very, very big YouTuber. Actually, I met him through the weirdest synchronicity ever. I'll have to tell you after stream because I don't want to tell it on
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
the weirdest thing ever, dude.
Yeah,
But
and just remember that means also David Lynch is of Templar blood.
oh,
You
dude, yeah,
know,
very
so
good call.
is this why we're doing the things that we do? Is this like what Templars do when they're not knights in shining armor?
Nothing is
Which
true. Anything
I
is
lost
permitted.
interest in that game after the American Revolution.
Yeah, I didn't
Fucking
even do
hated
that
it
one, but
so I fucking hated it so bad. I
dude, number
really
one and number two though were dude. Number two, number one was mind blowing, but number two was even more mind blowing, dude. Like I love number two, man. That,
dude,
that that
yeah,
ending
no,
was
no,
gnarly as hell,
number two is the shit.
dude. That
Number
ending
two
was
is the shit.
so hardcore. That dude, I talk about that shit today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was revolutionary. It was so much fun, right? Because the first game, like it's so cool doing the thing, but you could tell simplistic design. A lot of the fucking places you went all looked the same in a certain
Yeah,
respect. They
kind
had
of dusty,
they had
kind of
they had
sunny.
less, they had less designs that they put out there. There was less complexity of crowd characters. The level in which you could really have fun sneaking around in two was off the fucking hook. Off the hook. What a cool game to explore.
Yeah. Um, and I have some weird. I can connect this stuff to the God of War franchise here in a second too, because that's a weird thing I found as well. Dude, I'm gonna break this word tonight. Okay, here we go. So let me show you the once again. I'm gonna show you Shakespeare. Let's go to the folders, right? So I'm gonna show you. Look, here's where they gloss the word weird, right? So boom, here's the 6 times that they use it in the play apparently. But, dear audience, if we go to the 23 folio, I've got a facsimile pulled up here. So if we go to the 1623 folio, we don't have quartos of Macbeth, so we don't have some version of it to compare. All we have is when after Shakespeare's dead, this thing is printed 1623, almost a decade after he's dead or whatever. And this is the oldest copy of Macbeth that we have, right? And so like I just showed you at line Act 1, Scene 3, line 33, we get the first use of the word weird, but let's look at the facsimile. Let's look at the very original one. And if we go here, so let's scroll down, find that line. The wayward. So we go about, thrice to thrine, yada yada. But wait, it's like, oops. But if you saw what I mean there, this is very long to play. But like I said, hey, this is the word weird, and I've got the entry for the word wayward popped up just to show you that this is not some word that goes at least to the 14th century, right? So wayward definitely means something that is disposed to go counter to what is right, shortening to a wayward, turned away, right? Which is that same root for weird anyway, right? So they're definitely related etymologically, right? But wayward definitely means of something that you've strayed from the path of goodness, to kind of put it in a narrative sense of right of what wayward actually means, So, but here, wait a second, they're trying to gloss weird, as in the fate destiny word, with wayward, and like, well, those are different words. That's not really quite fair to do that, is it? Wayward, like I said, I'm arguing that's a completely different word. And I'm like, okay, so my first thing to do was like, let's go to Holinshed's Chronicles. Let's go to the source of Shakespeare and let's see what spelling that they use, right? What's going on here, right? So I went to Holinshed's Chronicles. I've got it copied and pasted for you here.
All right.
And so in Holinshed's Chronicles, and it's kind of like a history, mythic history of England. It's going back to giants and crap. And sometimes it's like very mundane history, and sometimes it just, I guess, will break out into this crazy stuff. And so, and they're telling the history of Scotland, and it's kind of sudden, you get Macbeth's story that's kind of just, hey, then this guy named Macbeth come out, and this crazy stuff happened, and he was king for a little bit, and that was that. And then the next king came about, and then it just kind of continues, right, like a history book. But here's the part that what Macbeth is drawing from, right? So here we go. It fortuned as Macbeth and Banquo journeyed towards Forres, where the king then lay, they went sporting by the way together without other company. Said one, save lonely themselves, passing through the woods and fields, when suddenly, in the midst of the land, there met them 3 women in strange and wild apparel, resembling creatures of elder world, whom they attentively beheld, wondering what shall be king of Scotland. Herewith the foresaid women vanished immediately out of their sight. This was reputed at first by but some vain fantastical illusion by Macbeth and Banquo, insomuch that Banquo would call Macbeth in jest king of Scotland, and Macbeth again would call him in sport likewise the father of many kings. But afterwards the common opinion was that these women were either the weird sisters, that is, as ye would say, the goddesses of destiny, or else some nymphs or fairies, induced with knowledge of prophecy by their necromantical science, because everything that come to pass as they had spoken. So yeah, a lot of this stuff actually does happen. It actually says some other soothsayer later goes and does another prophecy for Macbeth, and that Macbeth is king, and he actually does like some okay stuff, and he's kind of around, and then then he dies, and then it's just on to the next king, right? But this Macbeth story is already involved with the weird sisters, right? But they're definitely they're described as being things of the elder world. They're described as being maybe this is also kind of what's going on with the Macbeth story, right? Was it fate? Was it actually the weird sisters? Was it actually the goddesses of destiny? Or was it some nymphs or fairies or some other like weird, lack of a better word, was it some other like strange, egregoric or demonic thing maybe hanging around or something like that?
Well, wayward, wayward, right? Because like, interesting they go with wayward, but that could just mean way of the weird at the same time. Which is what David Lynch,
Yep.
as is the
Dune.
weird way when he did Dune. I don't even think they used the term weird. Did they even use the term
Yeah,
weird?
I think they do actually.
I'm trying to remember if I ever read that term specifically in the
Yeah,
book.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So I was looking it up. So like wayward, like why would they choose that instead of weird that one time? Right?
So so here's what happens. So in my video, in my essay, I show that during the first half of the play, unlike this one, right? So if we go to Folgers, they're gonna gloss it all the same, right? They're gonna do it all this. So, but if we go back to just like in here, right? If I go back to this one, right? Imagine the first three, instead of saying weird right here, they said wayward, and then the last three they said wayyard, where it's Weyyard. Okay. And so yeah, there's a weird spelling, and people have excuses about it must have been a different editor because he spells something differently, and maybe that's part of it, and maybe it is. But once again, the first time that we actually see these weird sisters, what are they doing? They're wounding up a charm. Peace, the charm's wound up. They are doing a magical incantation right in front of you, actually in front of your eyes, literally telling you in the text, right? Even on line 33 itself, in Act 3, there's already a magical thing sort of happening here. And so my investigation was like, yeah, what's going on, Once again, if we go back to the original definition of weird, for some reason, the word weird, which used to mean, fate and destiny and round up with the past, in this even Beowulf would say something like that, right? Like, oh, you're weird. I forget the line in Old English, but he says like, much like the Fortes Fortuna Juvat in Latin, Beowulf says, weird often preserves a man who keeps his courage intact, right? That's what he says in Old English. But he specifically uses the word weird to mean fate. So weird used to mean very powerful, very potent thing, right? But it's because of this thing that even in the Macbeth text itself, it's using the word wayward. That's how this word weird went from being fate and destiny to being ominous and strange and unsettling, right? It's now wayward, right? It's actually on the bad path, right? That's why weird in a lot of sense is something unsettling, right? There's a famous thing about Macbeth also has a curse on it apparently that you can't, if you're an actor, you can't say it because bad things will happen to
This is, if you've never noticed me use it from time to time, is my Origin of English Words by Joseph T. Shipley. This thing is one of the best books that I have found on etymology for this language. And I've had it for years now. I bought it when I was. They're just terrifying.
It's like its own
I I
corporate
I,
egregore.
I forgot to double check because I didn't know that all fucking like Sam Ashes and Guitar Centers kind of basically all are just all gone. And I drove to one the other day because it was along the route and this GPS hadn't updated. So I show up, it's a fucking parking lot for Amazon shit, and it's a distribution center. They turned the fucking store into a place where you put the vans in for fucking package transit shit.
Man.
I'm just looking at it, it's like this is postmodern depressing as fuck. And so I drove off, and anyway, that's my sad story. So way, goes back to this old word ueg, which means to move to and fro, transport. In the Greek, oklos, partly imitative, from the noisy stir of a crowd. Oclocracy, mob rule. Oclo, Oclophobia, oclesis, malaise from overcrowding. O OED. I can't remember what that stands for. A certain language.
OED usually means that it's like Old English dictionary. It's got something to do with a database of his certain words
Okay,
and
good.
first
Yeah,
uses
that
and stuff
sounds
like
right.
that.
I usually know most of the symbols in here. Like when I said Greek, it's abbreviated as GK. But if it's GC, it means Germanic, and then I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
Germanic, right? Because I remember that much. I didn't want to flip to the beginning of the book and look at it. Latin, where it says L, right? Vehir vectum, vehicle, inve, to move against, invective, advection. Convect, convection, evection, vector, vex, agitate, first physically, now emotionally.
A turning and twisting
Yep.
and changing of something from to something else, you know?
Now, for the Shakespeare, here's our Germanic. Way, away, always, Norway, the North way, wag, waggle. The first syllable of, well, Waleed is, that's Walleyed, is folk changed from wag, wagon, and its doublet wane. Moving to balance on a scale gave English way, wait, weighty, we, ocean, wave, waver, via, this looks like via French, voguer, to wave, come vogue, the flow of fashion. That works for fucking witches dressed like really weird chicks, meaning they were foreigners. When they say that, it means they're fucking foreigners or they're nomads like gypsies, right? You know, for that time period, it means they, you know, it's just like, oh my god, those old world fucking pagan bitches. What the fuck do
Yeah.
they want, right?
Yeah.
You're one of those more tolerant Christian fucking kingdoms, right? Slightly, barely. It's just like, don't you put a hex on me or I'll take your head off, but otherwise, what do you want, weird bitch? Right? It's like that.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I fucking love this book for that. And Ward is like, I already understand all the basics and how that works. And a ward is going to work like a guard, like
Yeah.
a yard. It's, but you know, and to warding is to defend, right? But
Ward and guard are just a Lombardic shift. So in
yeah,
Lombardic languages, yeah, there's a lot of G to
I would
W
say
switches.
I would say that the big difference is like guarding, I think, is more physical. Warding, I think, is more psychic, right? Like warding is like if there's a traffic cop and he holds there working for the government today, right? It's pretty fucking simple, right? So he is warding me from crossing the street, right? He is guarding that intersection, right? So he is an access point for a threshold. And then he can pass you along and you can go about your way.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes.
Now, we're talking about ways, and literally to turn. Okay, so here's one other big thing that's involved with this Shakespeare author, not even authorship. This is just Shakespeare, basic Shakespeare understanding. Okay, that a lot of people do this. Okay, so this is not even Brady saying this kind of stuff. Okay, let me get the right one pulled up here, because like I said, my pitch is essentially saying that you see our modern things we're gonna gloss because that essentially happens in the 1800s as some guy just glosses all these way yards and way words all into just weird. When I'm like, hey, I feel, and especially if you're only someone in the audience, it's going to be really weird to kind of, it's going to be really off to kind of hear it one way and then even see it on the text with a W, no? And like I said, wayward, it's already like its own word, you know, kind of leading up to this point. And so,
You don't understand a person. You're just like, why is he that way?
yeah, right. Yeah. Which one did I need to pull up? So with this changing essentially, and like I said, I noticed that that the spelling even kind of changes kind of halfway in the middle of the play. They'll just chalk it up to, you know, some editor that does it, right? Because all we have is the 1623 folio version. We don't have the 1606 version, almost 20 years prior of like when it maybe first came out or whatever. There is a scene in the middle of the play that most people and most productions will excise. They will not do this scene, okay? I'll share my screen here. Here's the one I need to show because I've pulled up same play. I've looked up now the word wayward, like just straight up, not this weird spelling, right? Just the word wayward, and it'll admit like, okay, here you go. This is what we got. It comes up one time. We're gonna see the witches, our original witches, and all of a sudden, like Hecate is like there, like the Greek goddess Hecate. She's just like on scene, and she's like, she comes out. And these witches are like, oh, why are you like mad at us? You know, these ones that were telling Macbeth the prophecies, right? The one that we thought were the sisters of destiny. We thought that was the Norns, right? And these witches are like, Hecate, why are you mad at us, right? And Hecate is like, you bedlam idiots. Like, you know, you're trading and trafficking with Macbeth and in riddles affairs of death. I am the mistress of your charms, the close contriver of all harms, was never called to bear my part or show the glory of our art. So basically, she's just like, hey, y'all are doing a bunch of divination without a license. You know, y'all are supposed to hit me up before y'all do this stuff. You know, that's literally what's kind of happening here.
Right,
Um,
right.
most modern scholars, a lot of modern scholars are going to say that Shakespeare didn't write this. Shakespeare didn't put the scene in here because they're also Hecate comes back and right before the or right during the middle of the
All right.
double toil and trouble, fire burning, cauldron bubble. There's the whole scene where they're doing it right before Macbeth comes back and gets his second prophecy,
Right,
and they're
right.
doing all the Eye of Newton,
Yeah.
Eye of
They're
Toad and blah blah blah
they're
blah.
they're kind of like doing her magic, but they're not like, they don't understand her magic, but she knows when her magic is being done corruptedly, and she is appearing,
Mm-hmm.
as the karma police.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yes, because I heard that, yeah, she does have this little bit of justice attribute to her, right? Just like you said, kind of a karmic balance aspect, right? And
Right, right, right.
she's going to be like, yeah, y'all didn't do without my jurisdiction, or y'all are kind of doing stuff, and we're going to continue it anyway. But what does she call Macbeth? She says, uh, 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 and which is worse, all you have done have been but for a wayward son. So they don't gloss this one as weird here. They keep this as wayward. This is in the middle of the play, right when that spelling is being changed.
Right.
Right? So we get wayward with the weird E's, not way, right? We get a straight up A here.
Yeah.
The other ones is with the E.
Yeah.
And some people say like, oh, they spelled weird this way, and maybe that is a thing. But I'm like, but then how is this actually? No, this is exactly how the word weird. People are idiots,
But also there could also be trying to explain that they're putting a negative connotation, because if the story is trying to say that he's lost his way, right? Because you're telling a story, like you're making theater here, right? This is Macbeth, right? It's not sacred scriptures, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, I say
so
my
changing
argument is
the
that
language, so you're choosing to use this word, because it's got the primordial weirding implication, but it's also very succinctly talks about being lost. You are warded, meaning like you're trying to cross the street, but there's a cop, Hecate, and she's like, "Stop! In the name of my magic spells," or whatever the fuck she's gonna sing, right? And this is all. This is all. I'm sorry. I have to share something.
Go for it.
I have to share my screen. All right, I've heard enough. I've heard enough of this wayward that we have to listen to something fun.
No, dude, exactly. I was like, dude, did they get the title from the Macbeth play or whatever? Because yeah, wayward son, Because when you look it up, it's like, oh, prodigal son. That's what they meant. But it's like, no, it's like wayward son. It's like that's straight up Macbeth. Like that's straight up Macbeth, man. There'll be peace when you were gone. Once I rose above the noise and confusion. Once I rose above the sound and the fury. And then I strove too far, or then I rose too high. Right? It's like exactly like Macbeth, rising too high, getting too big for his britches or something.
Was that like lay your weary head to rest? Was like, oh yeah.
Lay your
weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
That got a bathroom?
Don't you cry no more.
Okay, that's all I wanted. I need to get through the chorus.
There
we
so
go.
yeah,
Wayward
you're
son.
exactly on point though with pointing out
ask.
like, yeah, this is Hecate's realm. Yeah, this is exactly what you'd be doing at this point, right? But I think a lot of people are like, ew, what's this like Greek thing doing in this like Shakespeare like Scottish play, right? Actually, and if we go to the folio, I won't do it here, but here they have Hecate, right? They got the tri-syllable sort of spelling here, but in the original folio they don't have the e. They just have Hecate, which actually sounds a lot more closer to the Egyptian god Hecate, which is also associated with maybe magic as well. So I don't know if there's a thing going on there or not, or if it's just Renaissance ignorance or whatever. But
Right.
weave your destiny, right? Essentially, but they're still associating with the word weird with nothing but waywardness and badness and bad magic and bad omens and wherever, right? And yeah, once again, in my argument corrupting some of these original words. And so let me pull up the last thing of Hecate here because we're talking about waywardness, we're talking about falling off the path.
Hey, I'm here. You all right? What's going on, Brady? What happened? Did something happen while I was out? What's going on here? Are we still live? Sorry, guys. What's... Hello?
All right, I'm back.
You're back. And hold on. The connection cut out again. It may just need a refresher. What's going on here? What's going on? Are we still live?
Yeah, it still says we're live on my side. We're still
Yeah.
good.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, we're here. All right. Sorry, guys.
Oh, let's see. Come on, someone may be saying otherwise.
Yeah, I can't. So you cut out right when I had to go pee?
Yeah, I ran and just got a refill at the same time.
Oh, you're gonna get like the whole idea was to not have dead air. You should have waited for me to.
Oh no, my. I was like, oh, good opportunity because I run. I'm getting like dry throat, dry mouth.
All right, all right. You know, if you had said that, then I would have let you done that first, and then I would have peed after that.
My bad, dog.
It's all good.
Let's see, because I think my camera's dead anyway, unfortunately. Because I don't have I have a webcam, but I have to like do all these hoops to get it back up. Let's see if are we still live?
We're still live. I hopefully won't have any technical issues, but I'm having some. This is an old computer, and it's starting to have problems with storage space. That problem. Yeah.
Small webcam. Let me see. Let me oh, maybe I may have screwed up my camera on your side, but I only have a little more to really spiel.
Okay.
And so that way, no one has to really miss my face or not. But Hecate. Oh, there it goes. Maybe this is going to work. Here we go.
Hey, there you
Back.
are.
So Hecate is also, once again, goddess of magic. Her etymology is also very mysterious, maybe related to the Egyptian word for Heka, which also has to do with grammar and words and magic as well. But Hecate is also known as the crossroads, literally trivia, literally three ways. Three via, way. Hecate was very so yeah, even heard via, right? Via, way. I'm pretty sure those got to be connected, right? Like you just pointed out earlier. So Hecate was closely identified with Diana, blah 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 blah. So yeah, Hecate is important in this idea of liminal spaces, right? Because that's what crossroads are. You're in an intersection between one realm and the next, and you've got like a choice of where to go. But yeah, there's a lack of jurisdiction there, maybe sometimes too. Maybe that's where polarities or polities bound up to one another, and so yeah, they're once again this liminal space, and that's why magic is potent there. That's why Hecate has a resurgence in a neo-pagan sense, because it's very applicable and very resonates and makes a lot of sense about how to use this sort of theme or whatever, right, for magic.
Yeah.
So Hecate here dealing with and saying something about a wayward son, talking about the turning and the moving and changing of the fate of the word weird itself, right? And she's actually the goddess of the ways itself, of the forked road, of the different ways you can take. And so it's almost like, yeah, this word's destiny is being curtailed here during this moment, almost like with an invocation of this goddess itself here in this moment. And it's kind of weird that if I look up the word trivia, right? So her name was Trivia, right? Which we think of like, oh, like factoids and other stuff, right? But even if I show the basic definition on Google, right?
So wait.
Trivia.
You're saying that Hecate also was called Trivia? That was one of her names?
Yep. The Romans called her Trivia.
Wow.
Yep. And then check it out. Just like with the word weird.
That really flips Trivial Pursuit on its head now, doesn't it?
Exactly. And so here's the full argument, right? So yeah, the word trivia, if you look up the definition, details, considerations, or pieces of information of little importance or value. So literally another goddess.
The trivium in my daily mind. The trivium in my daily mind.
Same thing. Exactly right. Where it comes from.
But now the trivium is good.
Grammar, logic, rhetoric.
Versus kind of the triviality, but the trivium means something very different. And it's a question of why is such a close word? Like, has the word trivia been corrupted, or is the word trivium not the most appropriate word? Because why is trivia got all these negative connotations? Its relationship with Hecate in this manner, but the trivium process, which is part of your foundational epistemological processing function of the mind, is a highly regarded form.
Yeah, precisely. Yes, dude. Dude, I love you're always adding like multiple cherries on top of the sundae I'm trying to like force feed people.
Yes. Because for me, I look at Hecate a little bit differently, because I know that I have to learn a few things in my temple studies, because Hecate is kind of in the anti-god category, right? And I don't understand that enough yet to speak ill of it, and I definitely need to do a deeper dive into her, because I know a lot of good witches that are in replaced something else from that more divine aligned understanding of things.
It's kind of like I kind of keep, remember my Phyrexian Magic of the Gathering, not to bring it all the way back home. We talked about the beginning of the story, but to bring it back to doing that, right? Shakespeare didn't do that. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm here to argue, like, no, I think this is all very purposeful. I personally think that, the connotation, the contextualness of the word weird, which definitely has to deal with the past. Erd has to deal with the past itself. It's Old Norse cousin, right? And therefore, when we lose this word of our destiny is contextual to our past. If we're only looking forward, other things are also called Westward Ho. These other plays and these other ideas of look west, look to America, look to the frontier, right? That's where our destiny is, right? That's where our future is, right? It's not about, it's about where we're going, not about like what have we become or something like that, right? And how does that actually bleed down into our social linguistic processing, essentially, of like what words we choose and how we spatially orient ourselves to everything around us, right? If we're only oriented forward, if we can't see that the sun rises in the east before it goes to the west, how are we ever going to know if we're only chasing forward, right?
You see,
Something along those lines.
I think right, exactly, which is why there's an important new level of cohesion of the mind that we need to come into seeing, understanding. When you understand everything and why we're talking about the weird sisters, and and nowhere in mythology are there weird brothers, and they're always like, they got the thing about the past, yes, but then again, the past is the past, right? All sorts of people that aren't weird at all know all sorts of pasts, but it's the issue here and the future. Women, the future, the way their minds work.
Yeah, they're the ones who are able to tell the future, right?
Yes, they're able to tell the future. Their mind wiring understands the future a certain way. Mind wiring of men understand the past a certain way. And when we have a disconnection between what we have in the
like a sort of
the women lost
like a sort of
the women lost the will to
right.
uphold
It's
the
a
values
a
of
conscious wide phenomenon.
yes,
Archetypal.
the values of the past we were holding on to, we failed to hold on to. A lot of good went out with the bad.
Well, maybe if we got some Vafstrudismal silver lining, maybe, right? It does say that Lifa and Life Thrysia, right, or the life and the life loving do head for the hills, so hopefully there'll be something that will always come out as a little seed of some sort, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've laid out. I could go into some other speculations I have about how this lines up with some political landscape stuff, and a bunch of other wacky things. But yeah, my main thing, especially because I consider myself like very interested in the heathen religion and that sort of stuff. And yeah, Odin is like my main. I am literally woed about Odin, right? I'm literally obsessed about Odin. So I've got Odin pareidolia or whatever is what I kind of say.
Sure.
And I've got a bunch of weird synchronicities that involve it, and so yeah, it's just part of my journey and all this sort of research that I kind of do. But specifically Macbeth is something I could ruminate on probably forever.
For sure. I'm gonna have to go read up on the Amleth stuff sources because I just have to, and maybe we'll have a conversation about that. So yeah, I wanted to now show off. Here's my Alrund from Magic.
All right, here we go, bro. Yeah, I got my Alrund box here.
You got your Alrund box. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I have two copies, one or not, so that way I can just flip it or not. I don't know if I can hear. There's my camera.
Right.
Yeah,
I have some of the craziest. I have some of the craziest shit. I really wanted to work. Yeah. You got the same one I do.
Yep.
That's the same one I got. So I found all the craziest is like, what would be the arsenal that Odin would bring to a match? Things I put in this deck to say like, okay, can I make something that makes me feel like I'm playing a game, as the All-Father and get like a lesson out of the brilliance of the mechanics of Magic through it, right? So I put in a Beacon of Tomorrows. I'm working a lot of time.
Seeing the future.
Definitely put in here, right? You take an extra turn after this one. You steal tomorrow. You literally steal tomorrow.
Do you have the Alrund's Epiphany card in there?
Yeah. This one is just an old classic that I said, like, I think I really need to put this in this deck. Pentagram of the Ages, which is a protection artifact. Fucking tomorrow, Azami's Familiar, right? Like, I got all this shit to make sure I get a ridiculous amount of card draw. Odin's always afraid of losing his mind.
Yep,
So
yep. I got
I can
commit to memory.
to memory. Yep. Here is here's my my Jormungandr.
Scourge of Fleets, yeah.
Yep, that's my Jormungandr for this one. This would basically be my Loki, the Quantum Riddler, which I just got him off of the draft. Yeah, I worked really fucking hard to thematically do this. There's a lot of I definitely went with the Snowland mechanic.
Mine's just the I do kind of go for infinite hand size and make Odin really big and try to swing for some commander damage. I guess here's my Jormungandr. I have Nezahal, the Primal Tide, the blue dinosaur from original when I got into Theros is when I got into Magic. When I got into Theros is when I got into Magic. Folio Fancies, you know, yeah, I got a wizard class.
This one, it's like it's not powerful, but it's thematically cute because he's a master of disguise. So from Final Fantasy, I gave Odin stolen uniform.
Oh, okay. They have some other.
This is the way I have fun. It's just like, what actual magic can I practice with by working with the deck if I try and make thematic sense of it almost more so than mechanical sense of it.
Yeah. Especially if you can do both, right? Now you talked about Pathfinder earlier. I don't know if you like Wayne Reynolds. I love Wayne Reynolds, but this is my all-time favorite deck. I know it's mirrored on here, right? But I have good lord, Balfour the Defiled. So this is an old card, but Wayne Reynolds did a Secret Lair version of it. This is my all-time favorite deck of. It's a Black Dragon deck. Balfour the Defiled. This is a fucking awesome card.
I think I've heard of him. Yeah. Maybe I have him in one of my decks? I'm not sure. I got Ring of Three Wishes, so that's my Dripnir.
Yeah.
The Ring of Three Wishes. It's just like I did pretty good. I got Cosmos Charger in here.
I think they have a Gungnir Assassin's Creed card, don't they?
There is an Assassin's Creed set. I have not picked up anything from it yet.
I swear to God, I think there's a Gungnir item.
There's a couple of sets that like I'm just overwhelmed with everything else.
Yeah, I don't buy Magic
right
anymore.
now. Talk about having a real psychic attack on somebody.
Yeah.
This motherfucker is horrible. He's effing horrible, and I love him.
Oh, from Duskmorn, okay.
the mind skinner. Anyway, birds and that, ravens, and things. And then the other one I wanted to show you, because this one is like this is the last deck I just made, and I fucking love it because it's my werewolf deck.
Yeah, I have him too. Yeah, a lot of the I have a werewolf. I have a whole werewolf deck. I actually need to sell it.
Yeah,
the Crown Horde. Yep.
I've been poking around with a handful of great shit for a long time, and I was just like, you know what, I could probably pull one off. And I looked, and it took me a while. I eventually found enough werewolves where I said, okay, now I can start spending money on putting the deck together. All right, because I needed
to get the Huntmaster of the Fells.
I had to spend a lot of money. Like I had to go out and buy him. I had to find I had to find him, and I bought a different guy who almost was going to be the commander, but I put him in here instead.
Now, some of the werewolf transformations don't line up. So like some of them use the night day, some of them use the double spell casting per turn or whatever, which is really annoying.
Yeah. Well, night and day still works that way. It's just that it doesn't have the night and day as an official mechanic. Like it doesn't actually become night and day, but that is how night and day happens all the same. It's the same.
Did they basically errata it and say like, yeah, this is like the same thing or whatever?
So here's what happens. When you cast the creature, a werewolf, the first time, it becomes day. It is day by default.
Here's like the one thing that I understand that distinction, but it's like you can't use moon mist on your day night creatures because they'll turn. But since it's still day or night, they'll flip back to whatever it is, even if you're trying to transform them into werewolves. So use Moon Mist, and it's like force transform, right? And there you could do that. But if it's like, no, if I'm only bound to day, they go right back to it as soon as you're done casting it, essentially. So that was like the big oopsies. Yeah. He's from
basically my other motherfucker in this deck.
Yeah.
Tovolar, right?
Do you have a Huntmaster of the Fells?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't
have
think Ronin Shaman. Like, okay, so for you guys, you know, there's an understanding of course of operations with this game, which fascinates me with the whole bit of the order of operations, and then like what was played last has to resolve first, and working your way backwards. And I felt like there's something about how logic and arguments work that is an extension of what this game is trying to do, especially with the increased amount of complexity as new abilities are invented every fucking year, and rules are forced to change because of the new rules the abilities create.
Here
Right?
I got Tovalar, but I got the alternate version of him. Oh my god, where's my camera? Here we go. Yeah, see?
Yeah, yeah. So like I looked at this guy and like,
Where's
what's
my
his deal,
master?
right?
Yeah, this
He
is one of the
comes
first cards I bought too.
he comes into play, and he makes somebody temporarily bigger so he can go and fight and kick somebody's ass, right? And so that's what his thing is when he comes into play. Other than that, he's a big strong guy, right? And so you play him, you make one of your guys on the field bigger, and then you attack with that guy for that turn, and it's like a surprise extra fucking tough hit. Then when he fights another character, right? So this is kind of like me kind of like playing with ideas of my my Ulfidnar kind of aspirations, and using
Yeah.
kind of work as a mythological engine. The big cheat machine is, at one point I came across the Celestis.
Yeah.
So this is a time machine that controls whether it is day or night, and it gives you magical energy or mana. So, you know, the idea of like build something in the world where you have control between whether you need to be the man or the monster. It is night on your terms.
Here, let me show you. So when I first got into Shakespeare authorship and all this research, you know, I've been playing Magic for a while, and the only guy that I play Magic with a lot is Chance. He actually plays Magic too. He's like the only guy, and his roommate are the people that I played Magic with most. So I've been working on this Black Dragon deck. I just wanted, you know, BBD. I just wanted all the Black Dragons from Magic's history, and I put them all in one deck. And so that Balthor card, which is actually one of the names of the dwarves, basically. And yeah, it's just like nothing but every single Black Dragon. And I pretty much had a lot of them, and I was just looking on Scryfall, which you can look at Magic cards, and so like looking at every single one, and I noticed there was one rare one that I didn't have, and it's from an old one, right? It's from like 6th edition or Torment or something really old. And it's called Torment Dragon, and it's not very good. It costs 7 mana, 5/4 body, it's flying. All it does is make one person discard a card, so it's not very good. But I noticed that they actually had a from the vault version, you know, so sometimes they'll spruce up a card and make it fancier. So I was like, oh, let's look at the vault version, right? And that was like heavy into like researching Troilus and Cressida at the time, okay? Because it's involved with Thomas Dekker, these other playwrights. Anyway, I find this card, right? I've been involved with Magic for a while. I find this card, Eben Dragon here, and if you know, I click on the from the vault version. So the original version doesn't have this text at the bottom, right? So Zerilath, you know flavor text, right? Mm-hmm. So check out the flavor text. Hey, it's backwards on your screen, I guess, right? But so yeah, check out this card.
No, it's right. It's right for me. It's backwards for you, but it's right.
Or just happens to have some William Shakespeare flavor text, like
why would Shakespeare exist in the universe that card came out of?
Exactly. And usually it doesn't. The original card does not have the flavor text. It's just from the vault version that does, you know. The dragon wing of night overspreads the earth from Troilus and Cressida. It's actually spoken by Achilles in Troilus and Cressida. William Shakespeare's Troilus and Cressida. But yeah, I just happen to be knowing about all that stuff, and I find a Magic card that I needed to get that had a Troilus and Cressida quote on it. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
I went nuts, and I went double Arlen.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think I sold one of my fancier Arlens, but I think I still have an
Yeah.
OG Arlen.
Yeah. Pax Hope and just Arlen Cord, right? And just nasty combos with all the wolves. Like, this is wolves and werewolves, this deck. Mostly
Yeah.
werewolves, but the wolves are really fucking good that I grabbed. And then these are my other two beasts. I not only have Tovalar, but I also have Tovalar's Huntmaster, as
Yep.
well as the Huntmaster of the Guilds is in there,
Yep.
or the Fells or whatever, and the Sage of Ancient fucking Lore.
Yeah, that's from Eldritch Moon, or is that from? No, it's from Moons over Innistrad or whatever. I used to drive that set back in the day.
Yeah.
I like these swamps that I have. These are really fancy swamps. I got one of them fancy Kamigawa ones. I don't know if you have
Yeah.
seen these full art ones.
Yeah. So this is oh yeah, beautiful.
And these are from, this one was from, but they had all these gnarly lands that came with it.
Oh yeah, that's fucking cool. Yeah.
So yeah, this is the one deck that I'm gonna keep forever. I'm gonna sell a lot of my decks. So if anyone wants to buy Magic decks, hit me up. I'll sell some decks. I got a bunch of pre-made decks.
Yeah. My buddy Joe probably is texting me for your phone number right now.
Yeah, man, I'll send you a deck.
Like I was talking earlier with the whole Pathfinder thing, and how like I was kind of psychic in kind of like making this thing that would be kind of like what the idea Donald Trump was promoting as it looked in 2016, right? Well, there was another game I did down the line. It was a Vampire the Masquerade game. It was I think it was, I can't remember if it was I think it was a Sabat game. It was either Sabat or it was like non-affiliated or whatever. And I was my studies at that point. I was looking real deep into the Dark Luciferians, the Satanic Cabal, the whole 9 yards. I was already very familiar with the monstrous shit of Colonel Aquino and so on and so forth. So I made a setite. And I made a setite
Interesting.
that ultimately...
That's crazy.
And ultimately, you know what my setite was doing? He was abstaining. I made a honeypot maker character. He was trafficking small children.
How long ago was this campaign?
How old is this? This campaign?
The one, yeah, you're talking about.
I want to say it was maybe... maybe 10 years ago. Maybe 10 no, more. No, wait, more or less. No, wait, more or less. Fuck. No. When did I reconnect and do that for a time? Shit. I can't remember when now.
If it's before 2016, then it's pretty like, zeitgeisty,
It was definitely before Epstein, right? And I didn't think at that time that Epstein was like I didn't think I was ever going to think up have to think about my setite character other than talking about Vampire the Masquerade with Vampire the Masquerade friends. And then I was looking at and then when then as I kept hearing the rumors, I still didn't think of it, but I said, that's interesting, and I still never thought of the character in the game at all. But then once it all fucking
and RPGs.
and like my friend has been paying attention himself too, the storyteller for that game. We were talking about that, like, dude, Epstein was my fucking setite character, dude. Holy shit. Right? Because I went there.
Yeah, there's something about creative media and creating things that it gets really creepy, because I know a very similar experience. Me and Chance used to make this graphic novel called Frog and Snowman, and we worked on it forever. But, we did it for fun, from 2012 to 2014, just smoking and having fun, and 2015 and doing all that stuff. And, a lot of that stuff would be like, whoa, dude, we kind of hit closer to home than we ever thought we would or whatever,
Yes, yes. And people were picking, like, man, it's just like, you've been to gaming conventions, right?
No.
All right, you spent enough time around gamers and different games.
Yes, right? For sure.
They're playing with fire, right? There's a lot of real magic in some of the really cool fucking games. This goes all the way back to some of the real magic that was and real mythology that was all seeded into what TSR was pumping out through Gary Gygax and team. I went to a gaming convention, by the way, and I was part of the vendor crew. And the artist for TSR, the original artist, he was there for that event. I didn't just meet him. I met him in the parking lot doing gear stuff. So we literally hung out like just two dudes. I smoked pot with the artist for TS fucking R D&D.
That's freaking cool,
talking
dude.
a little bit about crazy conspiracies because
Hell
I've been
yeah.
down the rabbit hole for fucking millions of years.
Hell yeah.
It was so I was so honored. It's like I'm smoking pot with a god right now, with a living legend, right? So oh my gosh, where was that point derivating to? But they're just children playing with toys.
Yeah.
Right? They aren't applying they won't go through the blackening phase. They can't handle the fires of the Athanor. Right? It's too painful because they don't see how they're holding themselves back, right? Does it mean you got to play probably a lot less games with your life? Yes.
Yeah.
But you'll still have plenty of time for fucking games. You can work it into your schedule. I would rather you actually like fucking learn how to be a goddamn fucking monster like me and still have time for games.
Yeah.
Because I think everything's gonna be fine with this Iran situation.
Yeah,
But
I feel the
you
same.
never fucking know. We can't trust the guy who he's in the files, and not that any president ever needed to be in the fucking files.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you couldn't trust. It's retarded. It's just like, wow, I love how
Yeah.
none of y'all trust the president. I
Yeah,
wish
right.
none of y'all ever trusted the president.
Yeah, for real.
I wish you
Yeah.
always distrust, but I wish you were fucking in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, parroting some things you heard on TV.
Jesus fucking Christ. Sometimes I really think Trump is a good guy. He's playing a heel wrestler because of how violently it wakes people up. I don't know, man.
There is something about
I
that
don't
kind of
know.
conspiracy people mention of like, yeah, are they just doing it to provoke, awakening or something like that, like to be bad guys on purpose so that way people can wake up to, more awareness or something.
Right. Because honestly, everything is going to play out where it's never really going to trust Trump. The man couldn't be less concerned about every accusation against him. I don't know, like the WEF guy. The successor to Schwab just fucking stepped down. That was a short reign on the economic throne. So, I mean, like, does Trump want that or not? What does it mean when he complains about such a thing? Right?
Yeah, I just feel like he's just a character on the stage, like he's,
Right,
what is
he's
Trump,
like-
what is, no,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Is he Jim Carrey? Are they going to swap him out and we're going to be like, that's not Donald Trump?
Yeah, right.
Can't believe that's dropped on us this week as well. The fucking reprogramming of Jim Carrey or whatever
Yeah,
is happening.
yeah.
It ain't Jim Carrey. I'm looking at those eyes. I'm looking at that ain't Jim Carrey's soul, and that ain't fucking Jim Carrey's body. That
No
ain't
kidding.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Period.
but yeah, dude, things are just ramping up to more weirdness, like once again, we already broke that word. And so what's the
Right.
weirdest? It's like all the past just culminating at some point, right? Or at least
Right.
it's reaching some
And it's
crossroads.
as much that Uwaj with the EI weird as it is weird, right? Because the magic is kicking off. Psyches are going where they're going under the programmings that they're gonna be with, right? And everything else, whether that be you're just going with the flow or you're getting invested with the forces that are dictating the flow, or you're part of the psychic interference.
Yeah, man. Heady metaphysical ramifications to all this stuff, you know? I'm glad that, yeah, you have an open mind to the
Yeah,
possibilities and, yeah,
yeah.
not really,
So,
you know, prescribing, like, this
yeah.
is what's exactly happening.
So,
It's like, no,
but
I have these intimations, you know?
so when I look at the gaming, right, it's just like the setite is right. There was a very cool
Yeah.
game that I didn't finish. It was kind of a choppy game, but I liked it. I wished it was better. Was I think it was called The Sunken City. I still have it. I think I have a physical copy for PlayStation 4. It was a Lovecraft open world game. You're in a New England city that's under pseudo deluge, and so it's like a decrepit version of of Paris, or not Paris, Venice, where you take a boat through many of the streets. Some of the streets you can walk, but there's so much flooding in all sorts of different places, and there's it's a Lovecraftian love letter world. So like there's Innsmouthians and nobody says, "Oh my God, what are the fuck?" It's just like, no, it's just like that's what people look like around here, and nobody thinks anything weird of it, right? So like he's got like the ape men, the Innsmouthians. There's various cultists or whatever, and he's like a detective. He's got some shell shock from World War I, and then he's in this Massachusetts deluge town, taking some meds for his shell shock, but also he's a psychic intuitive detective, and you get to have fun with mind palace stuff because it's an open world, and so you get clues for investigations. You go into a place, you pick up the clues, and eventually the mind palace kicks in, and then there's these spectral figures, and then you kind of have to line up the order of operations of you perceiving the events in the past that happened where the crime happened. And so there'll be like a light silhouette, and you'll hear things being said. Like you pick up on what was said because you read like certain letters about
Yeah.
what people were thinking about the thing that were there. And
It's like a synchronicity power.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you're Sherlock Holmesing it in a supernatural kind of way. It's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And is
Okay.
going down, and you start having a panic attack, and then your
Yeah.
vision gets blurry. It's a
Yeah,
cool game.
dude. That
They did a
sucks. I hate
lot.
those games. I suck at
They
those
did a
games.
lot, but also like Assassin's Creed 1, it had that kind of blocky and pseudo repetitiveness. Some of the stuff was uniquely cool, some of the mansions you went in and stuff, but a lot of the streets had that sameness. It kind of took away from the grander mystery. And there's a lot of plot lines. I didn't finish the game because I had to grow up because it was the pandemic and war was declared on my soul. So I
Yeah,
had to
dude.
stop playing games like that.
Amen, dude. I know
For
exactly what you
time's
mean.
sake,
Yeah, yeah, for real, dude.
it was either beat that game or look like this. I
Yeah, dude.
chose this.
Yeah, I've seen some of your transformations, dude. Yeah, it's been pretty stellar. Yeah, and pretty wild how transformative you've gotten, you know. And I pretty much had the same thing, you know. Like, I used to be a big gamer. I played lots of games, and for me, it was like I had a daughter in 2019, and one day I was like playing, and kind of like looked over, and she was kind of there, and it's like I can't be this version. Like, I have to just like be the best version. Like, I don't have time for this anymore, you know. It's just like, yeah, like I gotta. Yeah, I already liked history. Sure, I was doing that stuff, but yeah, I definitely kicked in overdrive and never looked back, and. It is what it is, you know. I'm sure I've like taken a dip here and there. I've played like I go to a friend's house and play some Mario Kart or whatever, right? But I don't I don't pump the hours like I used to. Wasted a lot of time playing League of Legends. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't like I couldn't put my time too much into things that were like things like League of Legends and I enjoyed people play Call of Duty or they played Battlefield. I was a Battlefield guy. I liked the physics mechanics in Battlefield. To me, that felt more like a simulation. And although it was didn't have the clicky kind of addictive like Like this would have been fine if this was like the 90s, right? You know? Um it's just better graphics for it. But Battlefield had the total destructible engine, so I could think about how I wanted to plant plastic explosives, or if I had a tank
Yeah.
or a rocket launcher. I had to think about where I hit the building because it was programmed where a structural strut could be destroyed and destroy the integrity of the foundation. You could watch the building collapse, and if there were dudes trapped inside, they'd be crushed to death, and you'd kill some guys by that merit. It was if you did it right, it was fucking cool. And then at a certain point, they had fucking like jets. They had big enough maps where you get a jet, you have fucking dog fights in the air. And you could develop, like, you got like all sorts of upgrade stuff for your soldiers, as you ranked up, and you could buy cooler stuff and juice a couple of stats in a balanced manner. So I liked all that stuff. What you get the upgraded guns is usually the big deal, and the accessories to those guns.
Yeah. And speak because you were talking about the sunken city and some of this drowned material, and it definitely goes back to the Dagon myth that Lovecraft talks about too. You mentioned it earlier because I was like, ding, 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 because you were like, yeah, the Sea Peoples are Phoenicians, and it's just like, why don't more people just know that? Like, I had to like do all this crazy stuff, and like I've kind of come to that realization myself that yeah, the Sea Peoples were Phoenicians, and it's just like that's
They
dude.
don't want you to remember the Sea People Federation. I only discovered them more recently, right? Egyptian and Mexican deities and such, as well as gray aliens, quite deliberately gray aliens and reptilians and things. If you've seen all that, that's the stuff that is verifiable by Sean and Yisa is that's all real stuff, and that's more recent. That's more like around Apocalypto, or like Apocalypto happened like after that technology was ruined that civilization.
Yes.
And those are the people in the afterwards.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's a warning about how we step forward with thinking machines right now.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
I love that shit.
So the Sea Peoples Federation would have come over there and have been embedded in the Americas because some of them would have fled on the west coast of Atlantis naturally. Some, and the ones that became the Sea Peoples Federation and then the Phoenicians as we know them, came on the east side, cutting in through the Mediterranean, which didn't exist. It was a Great Lakes area.
Yeah, because you can totally just see on Google Earth like the massive amounts of waves that must have flowed over Africa and the Sahara at some point.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
you
can
can
just
tell
totally see it.
The giant when you look back at the striations of sand on Google Earth,
Yeah.
you can see that there's your flood.
And they'll say now that if you watch like lift, it's just like holy shit, imagine all that water.
That might be also connected to the Gobi Desert. We're cutting into Asia too, because when you really put back, you can see it's like the scar of Mars. The desert is kind of like a scar of lifelessness around this one particular swath, like something grazed the earth at that time. And this gets back into
what caused this deluge and this idea of, once again, that's why I brought the flood part, right? There's something about maybe trying to flood the earth that's maybe that's the reoccurring thing or not. I don't know. I kind of connected my One Piece thing.
One of the wars of mythology has the answer to this. And, it would take a look. I think that there's aspects of Egyptian mythology and the ancient Hindu mythology that one of these wars is talking about this, and this would also be aspected with Ragnarok. It might be directly correlated with the first Ragnarok, which destroyed the paradise and put us on our axial tilt, causing seasons. Because the flood was the Ice Age also. The Ice Age was the consequence of the flood, right? We have been at a certain gradation, I don't know if we're ever going to get back to paradise alignment without our magical forces doing something grandiose to do it. But as it is moving now, right, I think it was more severe. I think we were in an adjustment period for that entire period of time, right? And so civilization between the region and the Sumerian region was the most hospitable during the beginning of the post-deluge period, right? Because this is getting into, there's three chapters of human history in the book of Genesis. They don't tell you that because everything is jammed into the first
Paragraph.
five,
Yeah.
the first 5 chapters, and then there's everything after the flood in time. Some people say that this was them, that this was a hermaphroditic thing. I don't think so. I think although in the DNA, the primordial DNA generative sequences, there's the hermaphrodism in the way we develop from inception to an embodied fetus, which, by the way, a fetus is called a golem in Hebrew. GLM. It's the name for. I found this because they were talking about the unborn in the Talmud and some black magic involving gutting donkey babies. Anyway,
Dude, donkey babies. That relates to in the Septuagint, and the famous passage that uses the word Lilith in the Hebrew of the Masoretic text, right? Lilith, the first wife of Adam. That's what they use. Then they talk about this meeting place. It's the only time in the Hebrew Bible that's actually mentioned. And people, the Jewish people, were kind of ran with all this sort of mythology around it. But in the Septuagint, in the Greek one, they use Okintaros, literally donkey centaur.
donkey centaur. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay, right. And the donkey, the ass is set.
Yeah,
Right?
it's said. Yeah, right.
You know, it's all set. Jesus rides on set into Jerusalem. It's you know, setism, right?
But then Dionysus
aspect
also
of
kind of
Satan.
rides in, right? Also on the donkey too, you know, and he's got so many Jesus overlaps too, you know.
Who?
Jesus. Oh, I'm sorry, Dionysus. My bad.
And Dionysus does. Yeah. I still need to dive more into the Dionysus shtick, right? But you know, and his lectures on it on his channel, where he gets into some of this stuff, and it gets into the deep taboo of it, because it's gets into hermaphrodite worship, and it gets into the hermaphrodite, and was making children of his own accord. And I think the one place I differ with James is that, like, if I ever heard him say that as a statement that perhaps mankind all at one point was like a hermaphroditic thing, I think that there's way more to it than that, but there's a hermaphroditic thing going on. Because I think this is why Genesis 1 and 2 matter, because of the Adam and Eve situation and the splicing of someone who had the Eve within him, and they put him under and separated him, right? Which there's plenty of mythological allegories about what that means, but then this is also Anunnaki genetic breeding on the history level of interpretation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm much more interested in getting to the sources of the Bible than citing the Bible.
Yeah.
So I will get more into that when I go pre-biblical, which is what I'm working on doing.
I've kind of just recently stumbled into some of that Ugaritic, Canaanite, pre-Phoenician stuff, and some of those overlaps or whatever. Yeah, diving into the Sea Peoples and how they relate to the Etruscans and how it obviously relates to a lot of the stuff in North Africa and even a lot of stuff in Spain and this giant trade network that the Phoenicians are doing, right? But we're still using the Phoenician alphabet right now, right? Like we're
Yeah.
still in the Phoenician world right now, you know?
Yeah.
And just
And I
connecting
think,
all their alphabet and
yeah,
linguistic systems to all of this stuff that we're talking about, erasing cultures
yeah.
maybe to some degree or flattening
Here's
cultures.
here's what I say though about the Etruscans, right? So the Etruscans is where everybody knows that the mother wolf of Romulus and Remus was the Etruscan people. It's a representation of the wolfman blood feud between these two kinds, and the people of Rom destroyed the people of Rem, right? So Romulus destroys Remus, and then in the process establishes Rome, and their people begin to overtake the Etruscans, and then the Etruscans had to merge and assimilate into Rome because Rome overtook them as a civilization, right? And then Rome, on the history level of aspects of how we use Norse mythology, because of the mother wolf aspect of it, this is the Fenrir aspect. Fenrir is this savage, world devouring monster of the Empire of Rome that just wants to march over and replace everything with itself in darkness.
Yeah, dude, that's an excellent reading. I really like that a lot, actually. It really lines up with a lot of this. What is speaking of Troilus and Cressida, he talks about will into power and power into will and will a universal appetite. And yeah, this idea of the wolf being this over-consuming entity at some points, wolves can be man's best friend, in some regards, right, in some version or form, but it can also just be a ravenous beast. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
I'll go into Fenrir all day, but
For sure, for sure.
yeah,
We
all
got
that sort of
way
stuff.
more things to talk about. Absolutely. I think this has been a great stream, man. I think we can start to put a wrap on it right here, and we'll do another one real soon. Now that we've kind of broken the ice, we can kind of begin to distill a really, really sharp subject matter. I think
Threads in a long way that we see this control system, this Phyrexian element that's sort of that's a substrate with this Phoenician stuff, that we're kind of tracing a lot of this control system stuff through the mythology, through the vernacular, through all the politics, whether it's fully exacerbated through COVID or something like that. Yeah, we kind of see it.
There's a lot, you've got a lot of our toys, our playthings, our entertainments, they did have a lot that is sitting there. It's in your right brain, in the childlike love of these things that you had, in that personal sense of empowerment, right? And now you're learning that there is something within it of deeper meaning, because the people that made it were just other dudes like us, just didn't know as much, but they were having fun with something like this, right? And little did they know, were they giving warriors training wheels, because I'll play Werewolf the Apocalypse again in a fucking heartbeat. Let me go have some fun. Fuck yeah, right? And
kind of like
I will
the
psychically rat out another fucking monster by making a character out of them.
Yeah, it's kind of like how fairy handed down to us, and they seem to have many more layers than we ever, could have imagined, right? And yeah, very much like you said, the training wheels of the guidebook, to navigating this realm.
Like Doctor Strange. Like Doctor Strange, he got that chi strike from the Ancient One, right? I went to the New Life Expo. I went to the New Life Expo in New York City, and there was a qigong master there, and I volunteered to have a chi strike to the chest myself. And I experienced a couple seconds of missing time and have no idea how I flew that far across the room and didn't feel it. it was Doctor Strange trailer came
Oh,
out.
wow.
I sat there and said, "Oh shit, I know what that feels like."
That's great.
Yeah. And then they had to make the shittiest sequel.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's part of the whole metaphysical collapse too, right? That
Well,
they
it
couldn't
is.
bring
It
it up, you
is.
know.
It's
Doctor Strange, right? He saw one way out of this, and that's the path that we're on right now. And we're gonna have to see what happens.
Somebody had to be the adult in the room on the right hand path and break all of the toys. It had to happen, right? I'm upset at Dad that Dad threw away all the toys too. But motherfucker, you were addicted to those fucking things. You're going to fucking you realize how fucked you are and how much fucking money, like, you're not gonna have much fucking freedom, bro. You're expensive to be free. You are very expensive freedom with your not working situation. Hey, listen, I wanted to live off of album sales too, but sometimes you just can't fucking get your life in the right place for it all.
That's how it goes sometimes, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
how to take that imperfected Mjolnir and make it the most iconic thing ever, you know?
Precisely. Got to stretch the handle out a little bit. You know, telescoping. All right. That's enough. All right. Let me just double check the chat room that I've been neglecting for the last 45 minutes. Let's see. We're glitching. Very interesting. Nerd. Baron teases nerd. Okay, everything's been fine. I guess believe nothing, but I have many suspicions. Okay, cool. All right, everybody's happy. Everybody's cool. And if you noticed, you're a moderator there. All right.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Oh, look at that. They're not wrenches anymore. They're shields. I just noticed that. Or maybe the shield is... I made you a... Like, there's 2 tiers of moderator off. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. I'll catch you guys later.